We're live today with another Tuesday cooking demo, and I'm coming at you with another make ahead breakfast. Right, so last week we made baked oatmeal, and I said that I was going to, over the next few weeks, be really focusing on make ahead meals, and especially breakfasts and lunches, because those tend to be the most challenging meals for us to, get a healthy meal in during the busy week, right? So this week's demo, we're actually talking oatmeal again, but we are making freezer-friendly single-serve oatmeal. So we talked a little bit about this last week with the baked oatmeal, right? Oatmeal is a staple breakfast. It's a very nutritious breakfast that's also super satisfying, right? So oats are really high in fiber, and those fiber-rich carbohydrates that we get from the oats in our oatmeal gives us a really steady stream of energy throughout our morning, right? And then we tend to add things to our oatmeal. So if you're adding some chopped nuts or seeds or nut butter, some fruit, whatever kinds of toppings you're adding onto there, right? We're adding on some good healthy fats with nuts, some extra fiber, some protein. So oatmeal can really become a very, not just a nutritious breakfast, but a breakfast that actually leaves you feeling satisfied, right? And that's the purpose of our breakfast, is to give us that energy first thing in the morning. But we don't want it to be just like a quick, 30 minutes of energy that you might get from eating like a donut or a muffin, right? That's all refined carbohydrates. It's a lot of just refined sugar. We want something that's actually going to give us some continuous energy, right? Kind of like dripping the energy out over a couple hours throughout the morning. So that's why oatmeal is great, right? But making oatmeal fresh on a weekday morning can actually be kind of a pain, right? Even though we can make oatmeal fresh in the microwave, I have had plenty of experiences where my oatmeal explodes in the microwave, even though I know it's gonna happen and I stare at it, it still happens, right? It's like the 1 second that you turn your head around and your oatmeal is everywhere, and the last thing that you want in the morning when you're trying to get ready for work and whatever else is to have to clean up the oatmeal in the microwave and have to start all over again, right? So even though it seems like it's something so simple to make, it can turn into kind of a disaster if we're not keeping a close watch on it, right? And you don't necessarily have like the time to just stand there and stare at your oatmeal while it cooks in the morning. So what we're making here today is kind of a solution to that problem. So we're making our oatmeal, and that's it in my little pot over there. So we're making our oatmeal just like we normally would. When you have a few extra minutes, it's nice to cook it on the stovetop instead of the microwave. So that's what I did here. It only takes like 5 to 10 minutes depending on what kind of oats you're using. So what we're doing is we're making our oatmeal like normal, making a little bit extra, right? So instead of just making 1/2 cup portion, 1 serving of our oatmeal, we're making double or triple the amount. And then we're going to freeze it. We're going to freeze it in a muffin tin, a muffin or cupcake tin. We're gonna freeze it so that it's in these little individual portions, and you can just kind of take as much as you need at any one time to eat it. So we're cooking up a big batch of oatmeal once, and then having it be something that can give us a reliable, healthy, satisfying breakfast, for a few days of the week. So this can be a really good make ahead breakfast. It can be something that's simple to just add on to your prep day. So if you normally are spending a couple hours on a Sunday prepping some food for the week ahead, prepping oatmeal really takes like 10 minutes, right? And then it's just an extra couple of minutes to put it into the muffin tin and stash it away in the freezer. So it's really, it's a simple thing to kind of tack on to your prep day, and you'll be grateful that you did when you can open the freezer and easily take an oatmeal to go, right? So I have my oatmeal cooked here. So this because I have one already in the freezer that I'm gonna pull out and do a little Food Network trick. What I did here is I just used a cup of oats. This is just regular oatmeal, nothing fancy going on. So I made my standard way to make oatmeal is this is a cup of oats, and then I add in, and actually let's talk about the ingredients as we go. So I'm using rolled oats. Okay, so rolled oats or old-fashioned oats, same thing. That's what I recommend using for something like this, and that's what I recommend using for oatmeal in general because it is one of the more nutritious options. It's higher in fiber than instant oats, and it's just a more whole form of the oat itself. So we're just gonna get a little bit more nutrient value out of it. Another good option that works well with this freezer oatmeal is using steel cut oats. So that's an option as well. I don't recommend using instant cooking oats, instant cooking or quick cooking, you'll see it both ways, because when we reheat those in the microwave, it does come out a little bit more like mushy and gummy. So I don't recommend that for the freezer method. So either the rolled or old-fashioned oats or steel cut oats will work as well. And like I said, you're just making the oatmeal the same way that you would make oatmeal on a regular day. So I used a cup of oats with 2 cups of water. You could also use milk, even for freezing, however you prefer to make it, water or milk. And then I always add ground flax seeds into oatmeal. So ground flaxseed is a really great source of healthy fats, and specifically omega-3 fatty acids, which most of us don't get enough of. Chia seeds are also a great option, or hemp seeds. Those are also really great. But I love to use ground flax seeds in oatmeal because they're ground up. They kind of just really like melt into the oatmeal. So if you're not someone who likes, to like crunch on a seed or something like that, the flax seed is a really great way to just add some extra healthy fat in there and some fiber, and all the other nutrients that come along with the flax seeds, but without adding too much. They don't really add much flavor to the oatmeal, and it doesn't really add any sort of texture to it. So they just kind of like melt in there. So that's why I really like to use ground flaxseed. So I put 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed in with the 1 cup of oats. Cinnamon. You can use any kinds of spices that you like to put in your oatmeal. A little vanilla extract I put in. And that's it. Oh, no, and maple syrup, which is back in the fridge. And I use a couple tablespoons of maple syrup to sweeten it up. So this is another great thing. Like, you might be thinking, well, what about just like instant oatmeal packets? Like, that's easy enough, right? But the thing with instant oatmeal is they're often kind of filled with a lot of added sugars, right? That's probably something that you have recognized, all of the delicious flavors, apple and cinnamon and maple brown sugar and whatever else. While delicious, they are packed with a lot of added sugars. So making this yourself just allows you to have that control over how much sweetener you're adding, right? So of course, maple syrup, it's still added sugar. I'm still adding it to the oatmeal, but I have more control over how sweet I want to make it, and I'm using my sweetener of choice because I like the flavor of the maple syrup. So it just gives you that kind of like wiggle room to play around with your favorite spices, how much sweetener you want to use, what kinds of toppings you want to add, and it really is pretty simple to make basic oatmeal. So instant cooking oatmeal packets are great for convenience, right? I talk about that all the time. Like, convenience foods, convenience options have their place when we need the convenience, right? But when you have an extra 15 minutes to cook up the oatmeal yourself and then freeze it like this, you have the convenience yourself because they're just nicely stowed away in your freezer ready for you to eat. Okay, so that's my basic oatmeal recipe. So that's what I have cooked up over there. I'm gonna pull the tray out of the freezer that I already have in there. Okay, so I have here just a six muffin tin. So the 1 cup of oatmeal, using the 1 cup of dry oats, will make 6 muffins. If you have a 12-cup muffin tin, you could do 2. I mean, you don't have to fill the whole tray, but you could do 2 cups of oats, and then you'll get the whole 12 muffin tray filled. So that's just extra oatmeal for you. And of course, we're keeping this in the freezer, so it's not like you have to finish it all in 1 week. So if you have a little bit extra that carries you over into the next week, great. So this is the same oatmeal that I just described, poured into this muffin tin. And then I was kind of experimenting with some different toppings and how I put the toppings on. So a couple of them are just plain, and then like you can see a little bit here. So for this one, I put like half the oatmeal and then some toppings and then covered it with oatmeal, versus like this one where I just left the toppings kind of on the top. It's up to you how you want to dress them up. But you certainly can put the toppings in the oatmeal in the freezer. Also, I did spray this. So you do want to spray it just so that they come out, whoops, nice and easily. Okay, so it's a nice cute little oatmeal cup. So then what we're going to do is package them up. You can either use just a plastic baggie, some sort of freezer safe bag, or you can put them in a container like this and store them that way. So I'm gonna just use this bag. So it's kind of like when we talked about freezing our vegetables, right? That we want to freeze them separately first and then put them together so they don't all stick together, right? So it's like kind of that same kind of idea. So I'll talk more about the toppings. I'll show you how I make these with the fresh oatmeal that we have there. But you can see this is nice and easy. They come right out. And I only had this in the freezer for like 3 hours. So it doesn't even take that long for them to fully freeze for you to transfer them into a baggie or a container. Okay, so you can see the ones I put the toppings in. So this has nice frozen blueberries and some pumpkin seeds in there. Okay, so we're just gonna seal those up. You can also wrap them individually if you want. And then they're gonna go right back into the freezer in the bag like this. Okay, so let me just put that in the freezer before they defrost on me. Okay, so those are away in the freezer now. And so to reheat them, you're just going to take however many of those you want. And so I would recommend pulling out 2 or 3 of those for a meal. So if you're having it as breakfast, 2 or 3 of those would be a satisfying breakfast portion. And you could certainly have this as a snack too. And then I would say you would want 1 or 2 of them as a snack. So to reheat them, you'll just pull out however many you're going to have, 2 or 3. You put them in a bowl and put them in the microwave for just a minute or 2. And it will just become the same oatmeal that you started with. If you do find, I see Donna said, is that super dry? If you do find, it shouldn't be. If you do find that it's a little bit dry, you can always just add another little splash of water or another little splash of milk just to get it to your desired texture. But they really do reheat very, very well. And then of course you can add, some more toppings onto it. The little servings only hold so much topping, so you can always add some more toppings onto it once you have heated it up. So let's get my tray back here and we will put this other batch of oatmeal in there. Okay, so I'm just gonna respray the tray. get that oatmeal. Okay. You don't even have to let the oatmeal completely cool before you put it into the tray. Okay, so all I do is I'm just gonna spoon it out so that it's evenly in each cup. Just kind of flatten it out there. Push this a little bit closer so you can see. And like I said, this starting with 1 cup of oats perfectly fills the 6 muffins. And if you wanted to fill a whole 12 muffin tray, you could just double this to make 2 cups. Start with 2 cups of oats. Okay. And then any toppings that you want to add, I like adding them. I think it works best to add them in the middle. So I still have a little bit of the oatmeal left here. I'm not filling them all the way to the top so that we can put some toppings onto them. And of course, you don't have to worry, right? You saw the tray I just took out. It's not like we have to worry about these rising. They're not actually muffins, so you can fill them pretty high, right? So I have some chopped pecans and pumpkin seeds and some strawberries that I chopped up. So I'm just gonna add a little sprinkling of that to each of these. And you can totally take these on the go too, right? So if you have a microwave at work, right? If you usually are taking your breakfast to your office or something and there's a microwave at work, you can take them from the freezer and just bring them to work and microwave them there. You don't have to do any extra thinking. It's all just already done. So like I said, in those other ones, I used some frozen blueberries. So this is a really good, use for some frozen fruit if you have that on hand. I had some fresh strawberries here. So I just chopped those up. You could also put some dried fruit in this. Again, it's totally up to you, and that's why I said that's why it's kind of nice to just be able to make your own oatmeal and customize it yourself. You can change it up. You know, if this is something you decide to do every week, you can change it up week to week. So you're not always having the same oatmeal. And then I'm just topping them with a little bit more of the cooked oatmeal, just to kind of nestle those toppings in there. You can even, you could even be like switching up the sweetener that you use in your oatmeal. So maybe you use maple syrup one time and then you use honey to sweeten it another time. Or one of my favorite ways to sweeten oatmeal is to use a really ripe banana and mash that up and put it into the oatmeal. Okay, I didn't portion out the oatmeal quite perfectly, so this last one is not going to get a topper. So I'm just going to push the toppings down a little. Okay. All right, so that's it. So this tray now, our beautiful little oatmeal cups, this is gonna go right into the freezer. Like I said, it only took about 3 hours for them to freeze. So as soon as these guys are frozen, I will put them in I'll add them to that plastic baggie, and I will have frozen oatmeal to go to all week. And I do recommend, whenever you're freezing something, that you do label it, at least with the date. If you can tell, like, I'll know that that's what these are in the freezer, but at least putting a date is always a good idea, so that, if something gets shoved to the back of the freezer, you can always know when, how long it's been in there. Even things in the freezer don't last forever, right? But these will definitely keep in the freezer for a while, so you don't have to worry about, getting through it all in 1 week. So it can definitely, be something that you have on hand for a couple weeks, whatever. So that's it for this demo. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope this gives you a new idea for a make ahead breakfast, and I hope that it makes breakfast time a little bit less stressful for you. Make sure, if you didn't see last week's baked oatmeal demo, also that's another great way to do a make ahead oatmeal. So either way is delicious, and that's it.